Hello, good morning. Happy Ghana month. Coming up this morning on Joy News Desk, Parliament still in darkness after it paid 13 million cedis out of its 23 million cedis indebtedness to ECG. And as we start the Ghana month today, we ask, what does this period mean to Ghanaians and what should inform our reflections as a nation? We have a conversation coming up. Last former Youth and Sports Minister Afenyo Markin opens up 10 years after the Brazil fiasco.
They said, no, unless we see physical cash.
Before they will train. And that broke you.
So we took the money to them, and you saw them, they were kissing the money. You saw them, you saw the videos. They were kissing the money. No player, no Ghanaian should be allowed to hold the country to ransom in this way.
More as he warns no player must be allowed to hold the country to ransom. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. We're coming to you live from our studios in Kokomlini. Please do stay for details. The intermittent power outages witnessed in recent days dominated the first day of debate of the 2024 State of the Nation address on a day the Chamber of Parliament and the entire House was plunged into darkness, first by Dumso and later by an ECG disconnection exercise. More on that shortly. First, the debate started on family affairs note as John Jinapor and his brother Samuel Jinapor had a go at each other over their respective parties' record in the energy sector. Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kwekwa Sante has the rest of the story.
The debate on the 2024 State of the Nation address presented by President Akufo-Addo to Parliament has begun in earnest, and the recent power outages has taken center stage. Of course, not without controversy. In fact, Parliament itself got rocked by what has now been popularly known as Dumso. So let's start from the top. Abno Seasare, the Deputy Finance Minister, was arguing on the economy and what she believed the government has really done in terms of changing the fortunes of the country. She again insists that if you look at the way things are going, she believes the president has offered hope to Ghanaians.
Mr. Speaker, as I listened to the president, I felt a great sense of pride. Mr. Speaker, his address showed that in a world fraught with challenges, Ghana continues to show resilience and advance in hope.
Abno Seasare ended on the note of power, and this is where the lights went off in the House.
Government had to make a huge commitment to address the IPPs and to make sure that we sustain the lights and not go back to the Dumso days that we were saddled with right before 2017.
Well, the conversation on the power outages became a family affair on the floor. The two brothers on the different sides of the aisle, Samuel Abu Jinapor and John Jinapor, went at each other, criticizing the respective parties for the way they handle the power sector. Samuel Abu Jinapor says, whilst the recent power outages is inconveniencing, it is way better than what was experienced under the NDC.
For the past 3 weeks to 4 weeks, they've been shedding load on a daily basis. Yesterday alone, they shed 530 megawatts. This afternoon, exactly 12 o'clock, the lights went off. That is why people are stuck in the elevator. Yes. And you still have the temerity to tell us that the lights are on. Mr. Speaker, that cannot be the case. Mr. Speaker, for 4 years, the Honorable John Jinapor, Member of Parliament for Yape Kosovo, talks about lights going off yesterday and talks about lights going off this afternoon. Mr. Speaker, lights went off yesterday. That is correct. Lights went off this afternoon. That is correct. Ghanaians went through inconveniences yesterday. That is correct. They will go through inconveniences as a result of light of this apple. Mr. Speaker, that is correct. But Mr. Speaker, Ghanaians certainly do not have a short memory. They do not have a short memory.
Well, the entirety of Parliament was, for a large part of today, disconnected from the national grid. Initially, it was the normal power outages, but at some point, Parliament had to put on its generators because the Electricity Company of Ghana had been on the premise of Parliament to disconnect the entire house because of the 23 million Ghana cedis debt it owes the power distributor.
Doom, sir.
The Deputy Minority Leader, Emmanuel Amakufibua, who was in his office, then walked into the floor to complain about the unbearable heat in the Job 600 and how so many people were stuck in the elevators.
5 and 6 floor, we have people stuck in it. I just got the fire service to run in there. So it's important we know what is happening around us. The light is off, except for this chamber, and I don't want that to pretend.
Some people are stuck in the lift.
On the 5th and 6th floor. In fact, I just came in because we just got the fire service people to try to get them open the elevator. And it's very serious. And I think this house, before we continue doing business, we must know the crisis we face.
We understand Parliament is making some commitments to pay some part of the debt it owes ECG, but for now it will continue to run on the generators until they are able to reach some amicable settlement with the Electricity Company of Ghana. But back to the State of the Nation address, and I told you early on how Afenyo-Markin, the Deputy Finance Minister, started on the note of the economy. The ranking member on Agric and Cocoa Affairs for the minority, Eric Opoku, tried to punch some holes into the arguments that were made by Afenyo-Markin.
Every Ghanaian is feeling the heat. Now, the President appeared before this House to present the 2024 State of the Nation address, and he now describes the head of the economic management team as Dr. Digitalization. He's no longer the brilliant economist. He's now transmogrified into another area, digitalization. Meanwhile, Dr. Baumia, throughout his life, has been trained as an economist.
The State of the Nation address debate is going to continue for the next few days in Parliament up until next week, when leadership on both sides of the aisles will conclude the debate and thank the President, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, for the message he has delivered. Obviously, this has turned into a political footballing game where the political parties going at each other, citing their respective economic prowess. But especially with this year being an election year, both parties and the MPs on both sides of the aisle are seizing the opportunity to make it a real campaign issue. And it's going to continue till the leaders conclude the debate next week. Reporting for Joy News, Kweku Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
And from Parliament to the Attorney General's office, government is faced with grim task of settling a judgment debt of 950,000 awarded against the states. That's jumped to over 14 trillion Ghana cedis. So this morning, lawyers of African Automobile say they constrained with how to execute the court's judgment due to the massive amount the state is expected to pay. At the State of the Nation address, President Akufo-Addo mentioned the AG saved the country from paying over 10 trillion Ghana cedis in judgment debts. Now, Attorney General Godfred Dame, while confirming that his office saved Ghana from paying 10 trillion Ghana cedis in judgment debts, cited the misuse of compound interest by public officers to inflict unnecessary financial hardship on the state. His office subsequently petitioned Parliament to amend the Contracts Act to halt the trend. He spoke to my colleague Kojo Yangsing.
To get Parliament to enact a law which seeks to amend the Contracts Act by which the payment of compound interest is prohibited against the government of Ghana. Because before I assumed the reins as Attorney General, indeed, I observed a trend for various public officers to the process of compound interest actually inflict unnecessary judgment debts against the government of Ghana. So remember the case of NDK against the Attorney General,
yes,
which I again applied to the Supreme Court for another stating that the sum of 79 million Ghana cedis paid by the government of Ghana was sufficient and therefore should be declared as full and final payment. And the government was relieved from the obligation of paying the sum of 1.27 billion Ghana cedis. If you remember, the sum in question was a paltry 268 thousand Ghana cedis, 268,000 Ghana cedis.
That was the original amount awarded,
sum,
right?
In 2009, was 268,000 Ghana cedis. But by the process of computation of compound interest, the sum increased to 1.3 billion Ghana cedis. And after an amount of 79 million Ghana cedis had been paid by the government of Ghana, NDK was still pursuing government of Ghana for payment of 1.27 billion Ghana cedis. And I made the application to the Supreme Court that on grounds of equity and what have you, the sum paid by the government of Ghana should be awarded or should be held by the court as having fully satisfied the judgment debt. And that's what actually motivated me to lay before Parliament the Contract Amendment Act. So the process of judgment debt for me had become a conduit for milking the state, had become a conduit for necessarily inflicting financial hardships on the state. And some people had more or less permitted it to be an enterprise. And we saw various judgments of the Supreme Court between 2012 and 2016 reflecting such a tendency.
Well, in response to a rights information request filed by journeys, the Ministry of Finance disclosed startling figures regarding judgment debt payments made by government between 2017 and 2022. The documents reveal payments made to over 70 individuals and entities, indicating a wide distribution of funds among various recipients. Among the notable beneficiaries are companies including NDK, Financial Services, Vacuum Salt Products, Balkan Energy, and several others. Let me share with you details of these payments coming up shortly on your screens. So if you look at the total payment made between 2017 to 2022, it stands at 300.38 million Ghana cedis. That's the total payment we've made. And this is the breakdown. In 2017, we made 10 payments, judgment debt payments to various companies, which amounted to 111.24 million Ghana cedis. In 2018, we made 12 payments in terms of judgment debt, which amounted to 153.09 million cedis. And in 2019, we made judgment debt payments numbering 11, which amounted to 13.96 million. In 2020, the number went up to 15. That's the number of payments we made, and it stands at 18.91 million. And then in 2021, we made 2022 4, and that amount is there for you, which is for 2022, we made 2.8 million, whereas in 2021, we made 357 million cedis. And total legal fees and refunds related to judgment debt, it stands at 4.94 million cedis. And then that's the breakdown. In 2017, it was 2.6 million that was released. In 2017, 2.6 million released. Okay, so that's the breakdown for you in terms of legal fees and refunds related to Ghana's judgment debt. Let's still talk about the country Ghana, because Ghana Month is a period used to recognize the rich cultural heritage of the nation. It's also to teach the younger generation the morals and values upheld in the Ghanaian society. This month of March will be no different, but has the observation of the Ghana Month living up to its billing. What can be done differently, and what should be the takeaway in this month of March? I've been joined by Nana Nsakwao, who is chief of Edumasa in the Eastern region. Nana, thank you so much for joining us. You live tradition, you're a custodian. Tell us what you make of the whole idea of a Ghana Month. Kindly unmute for me, Nana.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Sorry about that. But thank you for having me on your platform, Aisha. Well, I think this is one of the most exciting months, and Allah will be smiling on us today. I say that because You see, unless we believe God made a mistake, then we have to carry on the same way we are carrying. I think the foreign influence and dominance on our lives and our culture is way too much. And there is not a single country, a people, a tribe, a community in this world that has ever made anything significant or meaningful by copying somebody else. So everybody develops by being who God created them to be. Yes, you advance. Yes, technologies come. But you find your terrain and you advance within your terrain. But we seem to have completely sidestepped ours and mimicking others. And so you realize that every time everybody just complains, why Ghana? Why Ghana? Why can't we move forward in the, in the face of all this abundance, culture, and on top of that, peace. And on top of that peace, there are countries who are at war who are actually even, developing faster than we are. And why is it? Because we are not true to ourselves. And so Ghana Month, I'm glad that we have adapted it wholly and we are putting everything into it so that, the young ones growing up will not depart further than what they are now. So as for Ghana Month, I am all for it, and I urge each and every Ghanaian, to be fully on board with whatever it is Ghanaian, because that's how God made you.
I agree with you on that, Nana. What should inform our reflections then as a nation?
What should inform our reflections as a nation? I think I would choose a song by Efrimamu, and it's Yaanum Ebibrima. And if you listen to the song, he was telling the black race that, have you not seen what is happening outside? And if you haven't seen, haven't you heard? And he says, if you seek knowledge, you will also know it. And if you pursue knowledge, you will find it. And the most important part is that there's a onimguase mfata obibiniba, which means it is a taboo for the black race to be disgraced. And that is one question which many people have found difficult to define. They say, who is a Ghanaian? I say, Ghanaian is hospitable. No. A Ghanaian is somebody who is afraid of shame. Aisha, a Ghanaian is somebody who is afraid of shame. And on the basis of being afraid of shame, all our traditions and culture has been built upon it. Now, when we got to the point where we are no more afraid of shame, that's why we have leaders who have no guilt, have no shame. So he buys one V8 today, you complain on Monday, Friday you go to his house and he has 3. Then he was him. But the true Ghanaian who has been given an office to hold will make sure that nothing bad will tarnish his name, because a good name was better than anything. And there's this proverb that when somebody meets you outside, Aisha, they'll ask you, from which phone do you come from? Not which iPhone do you use, or what pairs have you got, or how much money you have in your pocket. But they'll ask you, from which home do you come from? You see, so as soon as we lose those bases as Ghanaians, who are we? If I don't care that, my name will be tarnished, but I'm rather happy that somebody will see me that have an iPhone 14 or 15, that is my priority, then this is the society we are building. A society where materialism and stuff takes precedence rather than humanity, care, progress, and make sure that there's equity in the system seems to be lost. So going back to being Ghanaians is our bedrock for development. No matter how people think it's archaic or it's dinosaurian or whatever it is, that's our only hope for developing. Look at school feeding. Look at the food they are giving to children. That's not Ghanaian. You can't live, it's not Ghanaian. How can you live on fertile land and feed children as though they are in some, Sahara desert where it hasn't rained for 100 years? It's not Ghanaian. So the Ghanaianness, if we get it right, everything will fall into place for us. And so I pray that we find it. And they say, so we should all go back and get the Ghanaians in our.
I'm happy you talk about school children, because there's been a lot of talks about how we've neglected our local dialect, especially how we teach it in our schools, how even parents are also not helping, these young ones grow up forgetting their mother tongue and all of that. Does all of this remind us on a day like this?
You see, Aisha, our forebearers, I don't know who branded it, but there's this thing where we call Bejimi Bre, i.e. the foolish era. I don't know who brought it up, but whoever did it, we have to find him and give him an award because he succeeded. And so we seem to think that everything that our forebearers did was, quote unquote, maybe not sensible. But Aisha, every language, within the language are hidden codes, and the codes give you a sense of pride, a sense of belonging, a willingness to push forward and not to bring disgrace to your name in every language. And they are hidden in the language. So it's not one that you see it every day. I mean, like the Ghanaians who say, like if you ask somebody, oh, can you speak Ga? And he says, oh, in Kole and shore, which means like my boat floats at sea. I mean, it's a positive way to brag, to say, I can speak my own language. My boat floats at sea. And so all these things are embedded in there. Now, the other day I was giving an example that our children are now watching Peppa Pig. And, the baby Peppa Pig would always tell his father, oh, silly daddy, or silly Peppa Pig, or silly daddy pig. Now, imagine if you spoke Ga and you called your father, oh, Proto Buluji. Or you speak Tree and you tell your father, oh, you're Preko Jimmy for. You see, so in English context, it's fine. But when you bring it to ours, it doesn't balance. You see, this neglect of language and just picking language and going along, you neglect your heritage, you neglect your ancestry. And Aisha, ancestry is where we get our morals from. It's not from school, it's not from Bible, it's not from Quran. It comes from your ancestry. The idea that you get up in the morning, you groom and come to sit at work, is not because the Quran told you that. That's what is embedded in your cultures of your forebears. So once you lose that, you find out that now there's one too many Sakawa people, one too many Okada people. Once you lose language, the things you lose is too big. So bring your language back. And as you speak your language, as you say the proverbs in your language, it reminds you, it keeps you upright. That's Obi Shiawa, Obi Saudi, no Bisa Usika. So you have it at the back of your mind that as I'm going out, Aisha Ibrahim, I was named after my father or my grandfather. And surely it was because your grandfather had an upright life. That's why they borrowed the name Ibrahim and gave to you. So you can't take that upright name. Somebody has invested in it, worthy enough to be given to you, and then you are out there misbehaving with it. It's not done in our culture. And so in doing that, and the other person doing that, we all checked ourselves, and the society became beautiful. So let's go back to it.
Of course, this is food for thought. And as we begin Ghana Month, definitely we're hoping that the month whole celebration would remind us of some of these things. Nana and Sakwao, I'm grateful for your time this morning.
If you give me just a minute, that 1 o'clock, we're launching the Ghana Month on radio. I'll be hosting it. It's going to be really, really interesting. Sure. So I urge people to tune in to Joy 99.7. FM at 1 o'clock, where I'll be hosting and launching the Ghana Month. It's going to be really exciting.
And
really,
we'll be on. Okay, go ahead, Nana.
Well, this month, you see, sometimes we are afraid of the truth. It's a bit too heavy for us. But this month, I think I'm going to go really heavy. Aisha, things like Lucifer and all those things, we inherited it. It is not our culture. So if somebody believes in Lucifer, fine. We are not chastising them. We have our own way of correcting ourselves. And I think this month, we need to really go heavy. Witchcraft, all those things, Aisha, they are foreign. They are foreign to us. But we have owned it. Now we have brandy, are fast. But it is not ours. But ours is not witchcraft, Lucifer, hell, all those things. That wasn't us. Ours is to live, and then Aisha, you are of use to this world today. Not live a useless life and say that when I die, I'll be useful in heaven. And in the meantime, what is your benefit to humanity? That is African. You must be useful to us today, so that when you go to heaven, you can give a proper account of what you did here.
Yep.
You can't just live an empty life here and say, until then, what is your use to humanity? And that is African. Into this month there, we are going all out.
Definitely, and I'm sure we'll be live on all our social media platforms. So definitely you want to make a date at 1 p.m. on Joy FM and all our social media handles. Now, International Center for Tax and Development has appealed to government to reassess the e-levy to make the tax more effective. The center believes a review will help address public misconceptions of the tax and make it more effective. Matilda Ajato's report read to you.
Ghana's e-levy, introduced in May 2022, stirred waves of debate within the country's financial landscape. Despite its contentious nature, the International Center for Tax and Development, in partnership with the Ghana Revenue Authority, has highlighted the importance of digital financial service taxation in Ghana and reviewed the impact of the mobile money taxation on the country. Martin Hessen is the Research Director of the International Center for Tax and Development. He stressed the importance of informed discussions on key findings regarding the impact of the tax on the mobile money market, especially the
e-levy in Ghana is an important tax. It's raising over 1 billion cedi of revenue each year. It's also clearly a tax that's going to be reviewed and debated in the election campaign this year. So it's important that we have strong, solid research on which to debate the discussion. Some of the things that we found from our research are, firstly, well, there's some concern that maybe when you introduce a tax such as this, it may affect the growth in the mobile money market. Actually, the impact that we saw was only modest and only temporary. And in the long run, it seems that the growth in mobile money usage has continued in spite of the tax. Secondly, we looked a little bit at the impact on individuals. And we found that while the tax does affect the poor more than it affects wealthier people, in the design it's maybe among the more progressive of taxes that we see of this nature across Africa. And one key reason for that is the exemption threshold of 100 cedi per day on transactions, which actually does a lot to protect the poor.
The Deputy Commissioner in charge of Strategy, Research, Policy and Programs at the Ghana Revenue Authority, Charles Adair, said the challenges faced in implementing the mobile money levy introduced in Ghana must guide future policy decisions. The e-levy was reduced from 1.5% to 1% after several agitations from some business groups, political parties and the public.
In 2022, some amount of about 600 million was collected. Rather, in 2023, we were able to improve on this performance, and we raised almost 1.2 billion from the e-levy. The idea is, how can we improve tax revenue without burdening the existing taxpayers? So we are always looking for an approach, new areas to tap into the informal sector so that everybody in Ghana will contribute his quota in revenue collection. The formal system has depended on existing businesses, employees, in always raising the national revenue. And there's a need for us to go into the informal sector to be able to raise revenue to support the country. We always have the challenge that Ghana tax to GDP is below our peer countries.
Senior Research Fellow at the Noguchi Memorial Institute, Dr. Daniel Ahemfo, has called for community sensitization and awareness campaigns to educate community members on the management and prevention of diabetes, as the condition has become prevalent among young people, especially age 25 and above. Speaking at the Contextual Awareness Response and Evaluation Dissemination meeting, he called for community and stakeholder engagement in tackling diabetes and other non-communicable diseases.
I think the importance of research is that it generates evidence, and that at the end of it we should use the evidence to make changes in a way that will be beneficial for our healthcare system, or for the improvement of the people or the community where we did the research. For me, that is the primary thing. The other side of it is that, you see, as academicians, oftentimes our first if you like, one of our key priorities is that when we do research, we want to publish. But I think we have moved on from there. When we do research, when we do research like this, we don't do it for research sake, just to put it in the international community for those who want to read about it, to read about it. When you do research, you should engage with the community of partners, and this will include the ministry, the care providers, civil society organizations, other researchers, and in fact, all the people or all the stakeholders that need the research, just so that we get the right solutions, for the right time and for the right people. We have to find more efficient and effective ways. Again, one thing that came up was the need to raise awareness. Oftentimes we take it for granted, but find efficient ways to continue to raise awareness about the problem in the community, because other than that, when they sleep over it, they will forget about everything. They will unlearn everything that they have learned. And I think, so sustainability is very important here. So we would continue to engage with the very little resources we have, just to make sure that people understand the problem of diabetes, people are aware of what diabetes is and what it can do to them, but also to do a lot of the more preventive things like exercise, eating well, and what time of the day not to eat and what to eat, etc., etc.
Professor at the University of Ghana and President of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences, Isabel Anyimba-Kwache, has underscored the importance of channeling efforts to inspire and engage girls in the field of chemistry. Speaking at the launch of the Women in Chemistry Network, she emphasized the pressing need for educational institutions and stakeholders to forge explicit strategies geared towards fostering the participation and advancement of women in the sciences. Rejoice Semefakpesu's report.
The Women in Chemistry Network is a professional setup for women in the chemical sciences at all stages of their careers. It is a platform for women who have worked, are working, or are hoping to work in chemistry-related fields. Professor of Immunology and Parasitology and President of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences, Isabella Anyimba-Kwache, says it is important to channel efforts to inspire and engage girls in the field of chemistry by recognizing the gender disparity that exists in scientific disciplines.
The efforts to get women into science, it's not only government, but I'm one of the UNESCO, you have governors there who are represented from various departments. That's one of UNESCO's big program, is to promote not only basic science for sustainable development, but also women in science. So I think that the efforts are not seen because you need drivers and you need champions. But the notion of recognizing that there's a dearth of women in science is there. And there's so many things that detract the women from getting further, domestic issues, reproductive health issues, family issues, and often the woman just becomes the caregiver. She could be brilliant, But she gets to a point where she's only the caregiver in the home. Whether she likes it or not, she drops them. But, and now that it's become obvious that women bring a certain sensitivity to science. So in promoting women into science, it's not only to benefit them, but it benefits society, because we bring a special insight, you know. So all efforts are now to find champions, both in academia, in industry. So it's up to the universities, both public and private, for them to also champion, you know. So it's multifaceted.
Founder of the Women in Chemistry Network and Associate Professor at the Department of Chemistry of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Marianne Nkansa, explained that there is a need to give special attention to women in the sciences and hook their interests for impact.
I have not come across any document that specifically singles out women in chemistry. Generally, it's women in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, which I'm also part of. Wisdom is an organization which started somewhere in 2018, and I've been part of it since. And so most of the national agenda towards women inclusion and science in the public space has been general. But we think there are specific slots that women in chemistry can occupy, because chemistry is very central to all the sciences. As you heard the speakers say, irrespective of whatever science you're doing, from medicine, pharmacy, engineering, materials, you do chemistry. So we believe that in the midst of all the agenda for STEM education, some peculiar attention should be given to chemistry, particularly the way it is taught, so that the interest will be built right from the grassroots for people to actually grow up and say, I would want to be a chemist when I grow up. I believe the way it is taught puts a lot of fear in the young people, and by the time they grow, they are not able to grow out of that fear. And that's how come we don't have many in chemistry in Ghana.
The network stands as a pivotal initiative aimed at reshaping the narrative and breaking down barriers that hinder the progression of women in the sciences.
Former Youth and Sports Minister Elvis Afenyo-Markin has opened up on what led to the airlifting of money to Brazil 10 years after the incident. It comes after President Akufo-Addo this week reacted to Ghana's humiliation in the 2023 African Cup of Nations in Ivory Coast. Elvis Afenyo-Markin, in a yet-to-be-aired interview on PM Personality Profile, said that posture of the Black Star players for some time now is problematic, and if not checked, will keep drawing the country backwards, adding no player should be allowed to hold the country to ransom.
No, and I'm saying this on record. This is the first time I'm saying this publicly, and I have evidence, pictures, videos, you know. The money was brought. You know, Ghana's fleet, every plane that belongs to Ghana is managed by the aircraft. So it was the Air Force, flown by a senior Ogbodo of the Air Force that flew the money.
Okay.
So this business of chartered plane, for the first time I'm saying this in public, nobody chartered any plane anywhere. So this is how the money came. And when the money came, the FA, the FIFA, Brazilian authorities, customs, because they knew we had a crisis. In the meantime, and this is what broke me, the players refused to train.
Until they
said if they don't see cash. Look, I said everything. That's why the commission, if you recall, again, people who don't pay attention said, oh, they asked him about money and then he broke down. No. They asked me, at that time, how did you feel? Because I had spoken to them. I said, just go and play. Do you know what it means to qualify to the next stage in the World Cup? What it will do to your career? You know the level your career will go to. Train. Because if you don't train, there's science, okay? Before every match, there's a number of times you should train, heavy training, trial match, light training, rest, so that your body and your muscle memory will be conditioned. If you lose one, it will affect you. So I told them all these things. You train, your money will come. Just train. Because if you don't train, you would have cheated the country. Because when the money eventually comes, your performance will not be able to be up to par. You would have collected the money anyway. They said, no, unless we see physical cash.
Before they would train. And that broke you.
So we took the money to them, and you saw them, they were kissing the money. You saw them, you saw the videos. They were kissing the money. No player, no Ghanaian should be allowed to hold the country to ransom in this way.
The full interview airs at 9 p.m. on the Joy News channel. Do make a date. Let's take a break on Joy News Desk. When we return, we'll bring you business.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Vivo Energy Ghana's Shell licensee has launched its latest motor engine oil, the Shell Helix Ultra Lubricant. It says the lubricant has been designed with high technology from Shell, and it operates at maximum to protect the engine and save cost on fuel. Marketing manager of Vivo Energy Ghana, Kweku Sechikan, says the lubricant is affordable and very convenient.
The Shell Helix Ultra SP uses unique active cleansing technology to help high-performance engines operate at maximum efficiency by helping them to protect them from power-robbing deposits and wear.
This is our new innovation and the introduction of the latest of our products onto the market. It is the Shell Helix Ultra 0W20 SP. And as my technical colleagues will tell you, SP is the highest of all the technical specifications that we have. Today, modern cars are looking for thinner oils, and our Shell Helix 0W20 SP is one of such thinner oils. What sets it apart from others is its carbon neutrality, or the carbon neutral properties that it has. And it is therefore ideal for vehicles that have been recommended by the original equipment manufacturers to be using that particular specification, which is the 0W20. What is unique about this oil is that it helps to reduce the carbon emissions into the environment, and therefore it is environmentally friendly. In terms of the mileage it covers up to 50% more, and therefore it can go up to about 10,000 kilometers with an oil change. And therefore it ends up saving the customer money in terms of the frequency of oil change.
The product is unlikely to present any significant health or safety hazard when properly used in a recommended application, and good standards of personal hygiene are maintained.
Now, the bulk oil storage and transportation company BOSS has justified the 3 pesewa increase in margins, insisting it's needed to expand infrastructure and stabilize prices at the pumps. It's coming after the National Petroleum Authority increased the margins to 12 pesewas per litre on all products earlier this month. However, some consumers are worried about the impact on pricing of petroleum products, especially in these times. Dr. Edwin Provençal is Chief Executive of BOSS.
It's better than nothing. At least when they gave us the 3 pesewas increment, increasing it from 3 to 6 pesewas, Ghanaians saw the impact it had on our infrastructure. We were able to bring up all the dead infrastructure. We couldn't do all of it. When it was increased again, we were able to do something. We will try and optimize whatever we have, despite the circumstances, even though it's not up to what we need. Ghanaians should expect that the monies will be put to good use, especially in this time where we have gone to IMF and SOEs are being limited to the amount they can borrow from the banks. So at least this money is coming in at the right time, where we started some very huge automation and huge infrastructure projects that at least it may not be enough, but it will help support the rollout of these projects and initiatives within the company.
So help me some clarity again. So for you tell me that this increment would help and improve the automation of your systems, and that is where the funds will be directed to.
Yes, we started the automation project. It's a $24 million project. It's going to run for two years. And we were wondering, in our minds, when we're doing this, the strategy was to go for a facility and use the facility to run this project.
We also have to lay the pipeline we brought from, you remember the ones we brought from Houston? We have to lay that 12-inch pipeline from Tema to Akosombo. So these are two huge projects we have to do, and we're banking our hopes on going to the financial markets to procure some funds. Unfortunately, funds are tight based on IMF issues we're going through. So we welcome this amount of money because it can help cushion, added to our internally generated funds, it can help cushion some of the funds we need for these projects.
So you talked about loan. I mean, what about using this as using the receivables to securitize any facility that you want to take? Because now there's surety that these monies are going to come in. How would this impact on your quest to get facilities to also fund this project?
We are still pressing. We have some, before any SOE takes a loan, it has to go to the finance ministry for a no objection. Once the finance ministry gives you a no objection, the finance ministry is mandated to carry the amount of money in their loan book as contingent liability. You get what I mean? And that then increases the debt in the finance books, even though it shouldn't be so. If you get a no objection, it will go a long way to help in us procuring funds but for almost a year we requested for the no objection. We haven't gotten it. And what we get is because of the IMF program.
All right, and that's it for this segment. The news continues after the break.
Welcome back to Joy News Desk. To the rest of our stories, Ghana's efforts to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals have received a boost as a non-governmental organization helping Africa Foundation is pledging to empower people living with disability through their Yamransa Model initiative. The model is aimed at equipping these individuals, including students and teachers, with modern STEM education skills. Rahmat Bashir has more. That's her report read to you.
17-year-old Mausi Nitriga and 20-year-old Thomas Jabete both have hearing impairment and students of Chebi School of Death who had dreams of becoming engineers. Without any funds, they were just dreams.
Past, honestly, we're not made to be there, but now we have the opportunity to visit the robotics. But initially, he never knew, but when he visited the place and then practiced more, he has actually been very skillful in the use of robotics or the assembly of the robots.
Even when they managed to go to school, it was difficult to fully participate in academics. However, with the help of the Yamransa Model initiative, their dream is becoming a reality. According to them, this initiative have given them access to laboratory tools and adaptive equipment, which has enabled them engage fully in hands-on experiment and design technical project. Through an interpreter, Thomas Chapete and Mausi Nitriga explained their experience so far and encourage other students to make use of such opportunity.
One of the benefits is the opportunity of really coming for such a program over here and then making the projects on the periodic table as well. Yes. Honestly, I will encourage all the groups to, do well to, have an interest in the robotics, because she going there, she has actually been enlightened more about, the activities at the lab. But honestly, some of the children were not actually interested, but my motivation for them is to, visit the place, and then they will end up, developing interest.
ML Kofi is the GES rep for Yamransa Lab 5 at the Municipal Education Office at Chebi. He pleaded with government and other stakeholders to pay critical attention to persons with disability and support the Yamransa Model initiative to help provide modern STEM education skills to every child.
The Yamransa Lab has actually helped them to develop their skills. People think they are not, excuse me to say, some think because of their disability they are not worth anything. But when they started visiting the lab, I realized they were having some potentials. So I also made sure they were given the needed assistance to help them develop. And you can see what they brought as their project. and it is because of their visit to the lab. That is how come they were able to develop this, and it has also helped their teacher, who has been bringing them there, and it has helped the teacher to also develop the skills in ICT and other things.
Helping Africa Foundation is pledging to partner with the Ghana Education Service to provide a comprehensive STEM education training to students and equip them with modern technological instruments. Ramat Bashiru's report read to you.
Well, in the circle of life, some moments stand out as extraordinary. We explore the unique stories of first-time mothers who have welcomed their bundles of joy on the rarest day, 29th February. Joy Prime's Lois Adeyemi was at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital and has more in this report.
Genevieve is brimming with loads of excitement. Excitement of being a first-time mother.
When I realized I was pregnant, I was so happy. Even my mom, because we wanted a baby. Then he came.
But her joy of being ushered into motherhood is tinged with the anticipation of celebrating her daughter's birthday every 4 years.
Frank, I didn't want to give birth on 29th because it's actually a leap year which comes every 4 years. God has reasons for everything, that is what I think. Because everybody is celebrating the birthday on a normal day. Then you alone, you celebrate your birthday every 4 years. It's weird.
Abigail yearns for the joy of motherhood. She was due to deliver on 28th of February, but that did not happen. The 29-year-old is eager to welcome her little one on any day except the elusive 29th February.
29th Pandy. Hey, I would love to celebrate every year, a memorable year of the pain I went through during this childbearing and everything. I want to experience it all over again every year. And look at the fact that I have to do that every 4 years. I wouldn't feel that feeling. I need to feel it each and every year.
But what if Abigail's baby refuses to be born in March?
Hey!
29.
Because I'm not told I'm not counting days. Hey! Because I can't take 29th. Hey! No, she didn't even say that one, that 29th. Yetra, we go to first match.
Well, for Sharifa, she cared less about the date. The moment she held her baby, all the pain seemed insignificant.
And on that note, we wrap up the show this morning. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Log on to myjoyonline.com. There's more of the news and updates of all the developing stories. See you again at 12.